Hey, good morning, and thank you for joining us for another Sales and Marketing Friday Talks. As usually, every second Friday, we share insights, best practices, and anecdotes from technology companies. This time, we decided to spend time talking about how to grow the services organization. And this is not an easy task, right? We know that company who is providing services can very well establish themselves on the local market. But growing outside of this local market is completely a different game. And today we invited Rinalds Sluckis, the CEO of the Digital Mind, the company who is already 18 years on the market and offering different type of services, growing from very small one product or solution focused company to now multiple products, multiple markets, and having experience opening offices outside of the home market, closing them, and then choosing another strategy of growing by acquiring companies. So welcome, Rino.
Thank you, Andres. Thank you, Ron. So thanks for the invitation and the opportunity being here and talking to you today.
Yeah, we are looking forward to learn from your experience. And why we invited Rinalds, because as I said, Digital Mind has been going through the different, stages of the growing company. And today we would like really to hear the story of Digital Mind and see how this company have developed from, just being very, very local to the company who is now providing services in more than one market and in several different product categories and services. Yeah. Can we maybe start, Rinald, asking you, tell us a little bit about the Digital Mind. Who are you today and how did you get there?
Today, we are a business application kind of provider, a company who's serving large and mid-market enterprises in 4 markets, in Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, and Poland. We became kind of this pan-Baltic and Poland represented company in the beginning of this year when we acquired Alna Business Solutions, a long-term, very experienced Microsoft ERP, Microsoft Dynamics partner. They were acting in Poland and in Lithuania. And we, Digital Mind, were acting in the Estonian and Latvian market mainly with the enterprise content management. So everything automating document flows and making the office paperless. So and we merged those 2 competencies and we acquired the Alna Business and Alna Business Solutions kind of group because we wanted to extend our portfolio, B, we wanted to extend also our market presence, and we wanted to become more relevant as a application and solution provider to those large customers who are our customers, who are trusting us. So yes, and started the whole story like 18 years ago when I was selling the hardware and then understood, okay, hardware sales is not rocket science, right? So it's hard to find any sexy angle in that. And then because I studied in Germany and then our long-term partner, OpenText Corporation, whose software we are selling, then used to have a European headquarters in Munich. Then, because of this German connection, I was able to find the contacts there, and then basically decided, okay, let's go and be the best implementator of the document management solutions here in the Latvian market, right? Actually, the first customers of ours were international companies based in Russia, so Siemens, Saint-Gobain, and Lukoil Overseas, because they were using this OpenText software worldwide, and when they needed the local implementations in Russia, they selected us. We were their service partners. So before 2014 war, when Russia invaded Crimea, annexed Crimea, right? We had offices in Moscow, we had offices in Kiev, and we were actually making the most of our business and most of our projects there. But then after this war, and we closed offices in Moscow and Kiev, and then we refocused completely our attention to the Baltics market. Back then, we were a company only in Latvia, but in early 2017, we had the chance to buy a part of the business from Nortal, that's an Estonian largest IT provider, who had this business, this OpenText competence and team, then some years back acquired from Microlink.
Uh-huh.
And it's so basically the team that we have right now in Estonia, who are doing the same kind of technology, the same projects, also with OpenText, they have even more, like 20 years of experience that started back in the days of Microlink. So, and that was the story in 2017. So we became a company with two offices in Tallinn and in Riga, and serving mostly pan-Baltic customers like large banks, telecoms, and so on, right? But the time went by, and then we understood, okay, so growing out of the Baltics market, it's really challenging if you are relatively, let's say, small or medium-sized company, and it's hard to grow and get outside of the local markets with services only. And we, as a technology provider, so implementator of the software that is being produced by some large companies. So basically what we have is process experience and understanding how to configure, how to implement certain system, but no kind of our own IP, our products. Yeah. And without those products, it's hard to get out. So therefore, a lot of considerations, a lot of discussions, and we decided, okay, we need to extend our portfolio, and we need to get out of the Latvian and Estonian market. And the best way for us was to go this acquisition way. So we found sponsors, we found sellers who were willing to sell, and we were willing to buy, and that's the story of us today.
I understand. Okay.
Can I ask you about the first steps you mentioned? And it seemed quite interesting that when you shifted to this software part of business and you had contacts with OpenText, how did you land those Russian clients? Were there not like partners who could support them with OpenText in Russia? Or did you had already before that offices in Russia, or you opened it as a result of getting this business?
We opened it as a result of getting this business. The first customer, and it was really a lucky part in the whole story, that I started the business, and already then immediately there was this first customer. So Siemens needed to implement this solution in Russia, and back then in this region there was no one else who kind of knew this technology. So it just came naturally, right? So, and then after this first case, then another came, and then I was kind of spending like weeks and weeks there in Moscow and then in Kiev and so on, and therefore I know very well what it means to kind of open up a new market or search for the opportunities as a foreigner in this foreign market. And it takes a lot of energy, and you can do this when you are young and crazy, and maybe it's harder to do this when you are already a bit older, because really being constantly there, living those long weeks and weekends there in Moscow and Kiev, that was no fun.
But you also mentioned that it's very hard really to do something outside of your home market with services. And it's much probably better, or you have more chances to do it with some other type of offering. Can you elaborate a little bit more? What exactly and why do you see that is so difficult?
So number one, like it or not, but this being local, understanding local culture, and then speaking local language, having local kind of network contacts and so on, that really is the core what makes or breaks your success there in the business, right? So therefore, if you as a Latvian guy want to do a business in other countries, so you either have a people and have a team there, or you spend tons of time and probably years before you really develop the network there and be able to sell your services there. Okay, one thing is selling, then another thing is also delivering. Like what we've learned, for instance, with the ERP business, a lot of our customers, the key users there are, for instance, in accounting and so on, who are not maybe always fluent in English. They need to have a local support, local consultancy, local discussions in the local language. So this again creates a need for being a bit more local. So with the services, to be successful in exporting them, you have to have already certain brand name, like large, I don't know, KPMGs, PwCs, and so on, consulting companies worldwide, right? Or you have to have a really, really, really big patience in developing those markets. If you have a product, then the product doesn't have the nationality. it is easier. So you have a proper kind of sales and marketing. You cooperate with guys like you who help building the marketing channels and generating the leads and so on. And product export is obviously easier. But for us, our business model is services and system implementation and then support. This is what we know. We do not know a lot about product development. Therefore, we remain with this business model, and then we started really to evaluate how to get this business model also being exportable, so how we can get out of these local markets.
Yeah, and like looking at this experience, what you just shared, what are the factors which actually enables you to sell the services? So you mentioned like a network, what you need definitely to develop. The delivery model, what is basically like a combination of something like a local plus international. Anything else you would see what would be really helping to still like exporting the services?
Having probably very deep kind of industry knowledge or domain knowledge. So you see in the larger markets where the partners or technology providers are specializing in certain industry, and then you have a kind of really competitive edge. The problem with Baltics market is that we have basically three industries: banking, some telecoms, and a bit of government. To be kind of very, very blunt, right? Very open. So therefore, having a strong industry knowledge that is developed in the home market, then out of this business in the home market, you have enough cash to finance your export kind of these initiatives and so on, is rather really hard for the Baltic companies. So therefore, I would say, yes, if you can specialize in a certain industry, then you have a larger chance to export your certain industry kind of domain capabilities and knowledge. But then again, I'm not sure that in Baltics you can really grow big in a certain industry and to be then able to, I don't know, for instance, 150 people team, right? And then to export this. Those local markets or domestic markets are just too small.
And when it comes to the like your specialization, how have you specialized? Have you specialized on some industries, or are you specializing more on the workloads or solutions?
There is no kind of specific industry focus. So what we are doing, we are focusing on a certain size of the customer who has certain kind of complexity in the business processes. So we understood that because of the, let's say, technology capabilities that we are selling, because of the way how we are approaching and working with customers, there has to be certain complexity in their operations and certain level of problem there to make a business case for them to invest in the services and solutions that we provide. So therefore, I would say we have a focus on a certain group of the customers and also certain type of complexity in the whole kind of infrastructure processes and so on. That is how we see. And then we know or see clearly that, for instance, also in Lithuania, if the project is rather simpler or very standard basic integration, we are kind of, let's say, politely directing customer to our competitors who are doing this. But if let's say there are more complex issues, more integrations needed and so on, then we are working and actually we are winning those customers because we have this certain capability and certain kind of competence. It is evolving, and time will show about also those industries and so on, because obviously, now also in looking at what Microsoft is doing, they're pushing partners to be more and more specialized, to be more and more advanced in certain area, either technology or process and so on. The time will force us also to specialize. But right now, I would say we are as comfortable working with banking as comfortable we are working also with the food producers. So.
Yeah, but we can also say that probably your specialization are these complex processes, right? That is where you can bring the most of your value, right?
Yeah.
And when it comes like to setting up the organization for this type of scaling, what can actually how you design the organization, like in terms of like this local versus central? How much are you local and how much are you central in terms of your resourcing in sales and delivery and things like that?
So I would put another way. So now we have finalized this 100-day this first organization integration project. So we kind of are aligned on all the kind of financial planning, cash flow plannings, and so on,
Right.
basic infrastructure, so that we work in one environment and so on. But when it comes to being really integrated as a pan-Baltic or cross-border company and so on, this is still work in progress, and this will take the whole next year. So the ultimate goal is that you have a certain kind of capabilities and competencies that are, for instance, located in Poland or in Estonia, and you know how to utilize those consultants and developers for certain projects wherever they are happening.
Yes.
But this is a plan how we want to do, and this is a plan how other international companies works. We are not there yet. But what I can say is that having a people team who want to build this definitely is the first prerequisite, right? And we are very lucky with the management of acquired companies and with the local guys here also in Riga who are willing to build this, who are not afraid being kind of going international, step also out of their kind of comfort zone. And I am rather convinced about our success. But we are, let's say, 12 months away from that.
Yeah. Anyway, we wish you a good luck with that.
Thank you.
But yeah, Roland, you had a question as well.
Yes, I wanted to ask, can you share perhaps some key learnings or some things that if you look back in time, 18 years back or whatever time back, that you would do differently, which turned out to be different than you expected back at that time?
The biggest setback always has been in hiring and then not timely firing wrong people. You have certain need either in the business development or in sales or in the technology and so on, and then you are kind of have a time pressure or you have a fear of missing out and so on. Basically, you do not do enough due diligence, or you do not hear to your real internal kind of gut feeling, but you just want to convince yourself that okay, this certain kind of candidate has some limitations, but I will be capable enough to help to mitigate those risks or to help to mitigate those limitations. And it's never the case, really, right? And then the person starts working. It not only does not generate the results you need, but it also starts creating, some fatigue in the organization, disbelief. You spend a lot of money and so on, and then you make the decision. Okay, this person needs to go. But I don't know, 6 months, 9 months have already passed. How many opportunities you have lost? How many in money you have lost, and so on. And that's been, let's say, time and again, the main, main things to avoid. Let's say so. That would be Roland's the only thing, because otherwise, now looking back at the situations, I don't know. We could have stayed in Ukraine, for instance, after 2014. Maybe that would have created a lot of much more opportunities. So Russia was definitely out of charts because of the whole kind of aggression and so on. But maybe we shouldn't close the office back then in Kiev. Who knows, right? So therefore, looking back at that perspective about what could have happened because of some external factors, that would be just kind of philosophy. You wouldn't get yourself anywhere kind of closer. But this learning and understanding about being really selective and careful about people, and that how many problems it creates afterwards if you make the wrong decisions and not listen to many factors that are outside there. So that is the main learning, and that would I have turned different.
Yeah. Do you think that hiring has become more difficult because there's, in a sense, generational shift? Also, over the COVID, people got used to different way of work, and now what we hear from market is that for many companies, it's a bit of challenge to integrate new people, to make more work meaningful, motivating, and at the end of the day to get just things done.
Look, I guess there are two parts in this question. One thing is hiring and finding good people, and another is kind of engaging and retaining and motivating. To the first part, yes, it's definitely very difficult, but I don't think it's kind of different than it was like 3 years ago. So especially in IT market, there are constantly like 3 job offers out for every professional, every good specialist, and that's the situation that IT companies, IT service providers are constantly here fighting the same dragon, right, in the Baltics. And I believe that's a good thing that our government finally decided like 2 weeks ago that the STEM exams will be mandatory in the school and so on. So it will kind of have some benefits in a longer term. But regarding this retaining and maintaining the good spirits and so on, it went in a waves over the last 2.5 years. So when the pandemic started, going completely remote and so on, obviously we were also very concerned about what effect it will have on the people's kind of well-being. But this first year in the pandemic was rather brilliant. Once the guys adapted how to organize their work and life balance when sitting and living in the same room, right? It went really good, and the internal kind of feedback when doing the surveys and so on was really good. Now, after 2 years and so on, you start feeling already some fatigue. And then you remember last summer, the numbers of the infection was a bit down. You were able to meet and so on. And you can really feel that making those face-to-face team events and meetings, the people are really thirsty for that. So therefore, now what we have arranged and what is the kind of internal hybrid work model, that at least 1 day per week, everybody is getting in the office just to see each other, just to have a lunch together, to have informal talks and so on. Because majority of the customers are still being served remotely. They are okay with that. But just to bring people back, we have this 1 day mandatory. Some of them are going after an office, but at least 1 day, everybody is seeing each other. And that brought back already a lot of kind of completely different atmosphere, completely different connections. And people are not like sitting at home and seeing a new colleague who joined like 12 months ago for the first time and asking, who are you, right? that was the case. And that was the real case during the pandemic.
And like continuing the same topic, what qualities nowadays you are looking for like employees? Because it's firstly, as you said, in a more virtual environment, right? Secondly, you are working now not only just as a local company, but you are more international. So having people in other countries like Estonia, Lithuania, Poland, elsewhere. Same with clients, right? What qualities, if this has changed nowadays, you need more than like previous years when you was just a local company from your employees? I mean,
no snowflake attitude. And what I mean with that, the external environment and also what we do internally for our organization is constant change. And if you were responsible for one thing, or maybe you were hired in one role like 6 months ago, right now I would expect from you maybe kind of different role, and I would want to involve you in completely different position. And for a person who would be kind of comfortable with that, we would achieve a lot of success together. But for a person who says, no, that wasn't my job description and I don't feel comfortable now with doing something else, and I'm not secure whether or not I will succeed and so on, the snowflake attitude, what I kind of very arrogantly use, right? So this is what is not helping. So therefore, I would say, there are different capabilities, different knowledge and so on for the people. But nowadays, being really able to adapt and maybe change your role, what you do like twice in a single year, that is a very strong capability that I am looking into my existing and new colleagues. And I believe that's the truth also in many other organizations because of this constant change, because of the fast pace of change.
But knowing like especially very technical people, like when they are used to be in stable environment and responsible for stable things, so do you believe that this applies to all roles, or you still like see that some roles can be like and should be going very deep into certain areas and be responsible for certain areas only, while maybe other organization needs to be more agile and adaptive, or it applies to anyone in the organization? And how you actually achieve that, because people by nature are different.
No, it doesn't go to every role. And then also you understand clearly, for instance, you are looking for a programmer for a certain kind of technology, right?
Right.
And this guy comes and says, I don't want to do anything else, but I just want to code in this certain technology and do this. So you understand, okay, in 2 or 3 years, most probably this technology will be obsolete. The vendor, for instance, your Microsoft, will have switched this completely, and this won't be anymore for the new projects. But then you say, okay, for the next 2 to 3 years, I need your talent, I need your time, your energy for these projects. Maybe in 2 years, if you don't want to change and you don't want to learn new things, maybe we will kind of separate our ways. But for this certain period, I understand that, yes, this is something that I'm looking for, and I'm not kind of trying to push and stretch this guy's kind of comfort zone. But for, let's say, consultants, say business developers, the sales guys, more kind of the project managers and so on, I'm certainly looking into flexibility. You have one hat, and next year in June you will have probably another hat. And I believe my role as a leader of a company is really to create this environment and provide these opportunities for people who wanna grow, who wanna kind of also stretch their comfort zone, to be in this environment and then to learn and either succeed or fail, but basically to learn, right? So if I would say that we should remain for the next 5 years in the same kind of position and configuration that we are out today, so I'm basically subscribing a death sentence to the company. So therefore, that's not an option.
That's very true. I fully agree with you, and I believe that actually it's a great advantage to be part of this company and culture, as you just mentioned, because from the professional point of view, it's a great opportunity to become even stronger professional, because you can get so much experience what probably would not be possible if you would work with just very static environment and so on. But of course, I mean, it's a very let's say kind of personality factor in this case as well. Very much makes sense, because people are different, and some of them moving faster, some of them prefer more safer environment and so on. And I think, of course, it's also part of your task to make sure that you have a right balance at the same time moving forward today.
It goes together with the question Roland asked, and I discussed about this. The biggest mistake is for hiring the wrong people. This also kind of requires a lot of sensitivity and my own skill development about understanding and finding whether this certain candidate is capable to change this, and whether I look for this person really to be in this kind of position and role. For me, not to just look into market, attract new employees, and then expect the same behavior, the same kind of capability of changing from every single of them, right? So this goes in both ways. But what I see is the constant change is there, and I am a person who cannot kind of stand still, and I want to constantly kind of develop and try out new things. Some will fail, some will succeed, but then I'm inviting also people then to follow, and those who are willing to do this, they are following, and I believe we have a very interesting kind of work every day.
You seem to be very, very driven.
I am.
Where do you see your company, yourself, let's say in 5 years or 10 years?
Let's say 5 years we are dreaming, kind of discussing this. So we want to definitely do a few other business acquisitions here in the Baltics and in Poland, especially in the Microsoft Dynamics area. So looking at the Microsoft Dynamics partners to consolidate and to grow into something like 300, 350, maybe a bit more team. Then as that size of the team, we would be financially and also intellectually capable to get strategically and systematically out of the Baltics and Polish market. Then I'm looking into, let's say, maybe Northern Europe, maybe somewhere Central Europe and so on. That is the path that I see. So how fast that will happen, or what will be deviations during the path to this kind of lighthouse, it remains to be seen, but that is the tactics and the strategy that we have right now. So whether this will happen in 3 years, whether this will happen in 5 years, time will show, but this is definitely what is on our agenda.
So before we conclude this conversation, unfortunately time is running out, I would like to ask you, what would be your advice to somebody who is now in very, very beginning of the journey, like you were 18 years ago? So like, where should they go and what steps to follow to be at least where you are now?
Back in the day when I started, I did everything kind of myself or with the team. So selling, implementing, and so on.
Yes.
And then you see that you are wasting a lot of time and energy, the things you can't do, you are not capable to do, and you are not investing enough time in the things you are really good to. So I would say if you start with something, so understand, okay, if you are good with implementing something, don't try to do, for instance, marketing yourself. Rely on the partners like you guys, for instance, to do marketing for them, right? That would help then going faster forward. Because otherwise you are stretching yourself out, you are doing things you can't do, and then you need time to learn. You're learning, you're making those first mistakes, and so on and so on. So it might seem like you need to spend money for external services. I don't have the money, but the time is the biggest luxury, the biggest money that you have. So don't waste the time on the things you are not capable to do.
Yeah, it's very good advice. So stay focused and do what you do best, and then everything else just take from the outside.
Yes.
Very good summary. Thank you, Rinald, for sharing all your story with us today. I just would like to remind everyone who is listening to us or watching to us, so that every episode what we have is available both on our YouTube channel or podcast platform of your preference. Just go and search for B2B Sales and Marketing Fry Talks. You will be seeing a lot of episodes. We have more than 30 episodes already available. And just follow our company, IBD Consulting, on LinkedIn, where we share all these episodes and many other useful information what you can use in developing your business. I wish you all great Friday and wonderful weekend. And once again, Rinald, thank you for coming and being with us and sharing your story. We wish all the great success in becoming this 300 or 400 people company and even beyond that.
Thank you.
So thank you a lot, and then talk to you next time.
Have a good weekend. Thank you, Roland.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.